into College Football Live. Molly McGrath, Paul Feinbaum, and David Pollack joining you. And we start with breaking news as the coaching carousel continues to turn and makes a stop in Waco. Baylor hiring former Temple head coach Matt Rhule as the official replacement for Art Briles. Rhule led a rebuilding Temple program to 20 wins in its past 2 seasons, and now an even bigger task lays ahead of him as he takes on a program with a depleted roster in the wake of a sexual assault scandal. So, Paul, why would Rhule take on one of the most controversial jobs in college football?
Molly, I have no earthly idea, because there are those who will lead us to believe he could have had the Oregon job, which I believe is a much better job and a quicker path. To me, Baylor as a whole is a cesspool, and I don't know why someone with credibility and integrity like Matt Rhule would want to go down there. I've seen no reason to believe that this program has figured out where it wants to go, as well as the school. So I think he's diving into a cement pond, and I don't really understand why.
Matt Rhule's a stud. I mean, this guy really, really is a really good football coach. And I wanted this offseason where he would land, because he's a man's man. I mean, this dude, he commands. He's got great personality. He's got great command. I think he'll demand of his players. I think when you look at Baylor and them making a decision, it's the antithesis of Art Briles. I mean, this guy is not going to be the spread offense as fast as you possibly can. It's going to be, more physical quarterback run game, but they're going to be tough and they're going to hit you. I mean, they're one of the few teams that actually plays with a fullback sometimes, which is weird to see. So I think Matt Rhule will do an excellent job. I think he's an excellent coach. I think if I'm Baylor, I think you started off this new era with an unbelievable unbelievable representative for your university.
David, I agree with you, and I like him immensely, and that's why I'm a little bit surprised. It just seems to me that he could have done better. Maybe he likes challenges, and maybe he knows that he can go in there, hit the reset button and start from scratch, which he's going to have to do. That's the only thing I don't understand. Now, he may explain all this, and I'm sure he will.
And he did it at Temple. You talk about a program that was dreadful and back-to-back 10-win seasons. So it's not like he hasn't done this before.
And Rhule, big on developing his players. His father is a former inner-city minister, and he's heavily involved in the programs that he works in. So it's something that Baylor definitely needs for their program. But speaking of the challenges, Paul, what will the biggest challenge be for Coach Rhule?
Well, I think and David alluded to it, and so did you, in terms of his background. I think he has to set the tone very quickly, and I suspect he will. I'm not at all concerned about him. I'm still concerned about the people that run this university. I'm talking about people on that board who gave some thought to bringing Art Briles back, and who really didn't want him to leave. As great as Matt Rhule is, and I think he is, I just don't know if he can overcome the culture that is Baylor University. When I called it a cesspool, I meant it, because I still don't understand how this program has cleaned anything up other than firing the president, firing the chancellor, firing the AD, and firing the head football coach. The same people still run that university from a board of directors standpoint.
Well, I think first of all, that's a great start. You're talking about firing the most 4 prevalent people and talked about people in the university. So that to me is start. I think when you talk about challenges, we don't know if the NCAA is not going to come in still and levy some kind of suspension or scholarship limitation. So that's something that when you take a job and you don't know about that certainty, that's something that I think he's going to face right away. But obviously, you got to get the locker room. When you saw it this year with Jim Grobe is one of the best human beings you'll ever meet. And they talk about him coming into that situation. There wasn't a lot of respect shown to him. And you saw a running back pushing a GA and getting suspended, and you saw players with attitudes. I think commanding that respect right away will be something that Matt Rhule, he'll be able to do that, by the way. He will have that command because he's shown it in the past. So that's going to be something that's going to be an issue.
But David, I'm curious. I'm really curious what you think. But you've been recruited before. If you're a young man and you have all the choices in the world, I mean, other than Matt Rhule, and I realize he's the most important part, but the stench of this scandal still exists, and one person, as great as he is, can't wash that away.
Yeah, Paul, piggybacking off the back of that, is it in Matt Rhule's best interest to get rid of the rest of the coaching staff, or is that something that could hurt, him with the locker room? What do you think he should do there? What do you think he will do?
David, I would get rid of most of them, particularly those whose last name is Briles. I don't know about you.
I think he'll get rid of all of them. I don't know that there'll be anybody that will be there that was on that last staff, because remember, he's assembled a great staff in what he's done at Temple, and I imagine he's going to bring people. Again, when you're a coach, you have to bring people that you trust, that you know have your back, that you know are going to try to accomplish the same things you're going to accomplish. So I imagine he'll bring everybody with him. I'd be surprised if it was anybody from Baylor's staff.
And, Paul, you said that people within Baylor and the school still wanted to maybe bring back Art Briles. They're stuck in the ways of probably wanting a Texas coach in the state of Texas and in Waco. Rhule is a guy coming from, you know, the northern part of the country.
Yeah.
How much does it hurt him, the fact that he doesn't have any Texas ties?
Yeah, I mean, I've already heard that today. He doesn't understand Texas recruiting. And David, you know what I'm talking about there. You spent a lot of time in that state, and there's a good old boy network there. And I don't know. To me, that is one of the biggest challenges Matt will have to face immediately.
And that's one of the things that made Art Briles' job so amazing was that he took that university that, listen, they were horrible. I know all these people that watch TV now, and you see Robert Griffin III and Bryce Petty in Big 12 championships. This university was a laughingstock. I mean, they were horrendous for such a long time, and you finally got some clout, and now that's been taken away. So I think he's going to have to earn it. He's going to have to build it. And again, if you're hiring and you're making this decision, I want to see somebody who's done that at a place like Temple, they're not getting great recruits. They're losing to everybody. But to be able to take that, develop players, and then put them in a position to win a conference or be super competitive, and you saw him do that. So that's why you have Matt Rhule there.
Right, Rhule coming off the best 2 seasons that Temple has seen in school history, but looking at his new team in Baylor, David, what kind of team is he inheriting on the field?
Well, again, people jumped ship, and they were allowed to transfer young guys. And you see Jared Stidham, obviously, transferred right away. And I don't know, we'll see him in the future. He was one of those 5-star all-everything kids. So he's inheriting less scholarships than most jobs like this. He's inheriting, obviously, a cloud that's going to follow the program around for a little while. So it's not like he's inheriting a bunch of superstars that you're going to love and rally around. He's got to do this himself, and he's going to have to build up. Remember, Seth Russell's going to graduate, or going to be gone. So he ain't inherited much, Paul. I mean, he's stretching.
And I would really like to know what's in his contract, because it has to be protective of him, because this is a very difficult job. Now, on the other hand, I mean, we've seen the turnaround at Penn State with James Franklin going into tough situations and making the most out of them. So I'm sure that's what's in the back of his mind, although I can't wait to hear his explanation why he wouldn't have gone to Oregon, why he went to Baylor. That baffles me to no end.
A tall task ahead of Matt Rhule, but his programs have been built on discipline and development, and that is exactly what Baylor needs. And speaking of Baylor, let's take a look at our Capital One Bowl Mania preview. Baylor and Boise State limp into the Motel 6 Cactus Bowl. The Broncos lost 2 of their final 5 games, while the Bears have lost 6 straight after starting 6-0. And coming up, the Heisman finalists are out, but did the voters send